at the problems with this bill. Now, one of the things that helped get the bill through the House of Representatives were a lot of myths about this bill. I'd like to focus on two. One, that it won't cost the American people very much, and two, that it'll increase jobs. Well, the fact that it won't cost anything, that came from a Congressional Budget Office as well as an Environmental Protection Agency study that came up with low costs, and maybe some of you remember President Obama saying it won't cost any more than a postage stamp per day. But those estimates are very, very low. The CBO study, in fact, pretty much admits that they're not looking at the overall economic damage done by the bill. They're just looking at essentially the cost of running this particular program. But to keep in mind, trying to reduce these greenhouse gas emissions, the emissions from coal, oil, and natural gas that provides 85% of America's energy, this means driving up the price of those energy sources high enough so that the American people are forced to use less of them. Higher gasoline prices, higher electricity prices, higher natural gas prices, and they have to be high enough so that we're really, really forced to cut back. So economic pain is almost necessary here, and that's why the Heritage Foundation comes up with an overall impact for a household of four of nearly $3,000 per household per year, starting from when this bill takes effect in 2012 all the way out to 2035. So a very, very significant impact. And these costs, these lowball estimates that come from the government are not to be trusted. Another reason to question whether it will be cheap is the experience in Europe with similar cap-and-trade programs. These are nations that, in part because of their efforts to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and impose these cap-and-trade requirements, have much higher unemployment, much higher energy costs, and much weaker economies than the U.S. So the last thing we want to do is adopt European-style economic measures such as cap-and-trade.
Well, what about the promises of new jobs that this bill is going to create?
Just the opposite. It's a job-destroying bill. Now, sure, you can have green energy jobs. For example, the people who manufacture and install and maintain wind turbines or solar panels or install insulation in buildings. Sure, there's these so-called green jobs. But keep in mind, a lot of other jobs will be killed, especially manufacturing jobs. The Heritage Foundation estimates that over 1 million such jobs will be destroyed. Now, these wind turbines and solar panels and so forth, the only reason they're being created is because of government subsidies and mandates. So these things cost dollars, and those dollars kill jobs elsewhere. Plus, because these energy sources are more expensive, higher energy prices is also a source of destroyed jobs. So our estimates at the Heritage Foundation is over 1 million net jobs lost. So even though there'll be a few jobs, green jobs here and there, overall manufacturing jobs will be destroyed, and overall jobs in other sectors will be destroyed as well. And this will be a net job killer. It will also hurt certain parts of the country and certain segments of the economy much more than others. Farmers, for example, will be hurt particularly badly because farming is energy intensive, and this will raise costs as well. I mentioned manufacturing, and that's why the Midwest, especially where there are manufacturing jobs to lose, will suffer a lot more than than states like California and the New England region that have mostly chased out their manufacturing jobs already. So there'll be high costs and disproportionate impacts as well. So overall, as the Senate takes a look at this global warming bill from the House, they ought to take a very, very close look at the economic realities. Those realities are that this will be extremely expensive, almost by necessity, in order to drive up energy costs so that the American people are forced to use less. It'll kill jobs, it'll reduce standards of living, and that's really what the Senate should be taking an honest look at as it debates this bill. Thank you.
Thanks for the info, Ben. I don't see how this giant piece of legislation will do any good other than raising taxes. I'll be right back. Savage. The Michael Savage Defense Fund. Every dollar helps protect free speech. Find out more at michaelsavage.com. Obama releases the enemy? Yep. He made a point in his first month in office by announcing that he would close the prison at Guantanamo Bay. And now the U.S. has released 5 Iranian terrorists who were trying to kill U.S. troops in Iraq. Well, the BBC has just reported that 5 Iranian officials held by the U.S. military in Iraq since January of 2007 have been freed. Free at last. Free at last. Free to kill American troops. Well, the Iraqi prime minister confirmed it, but the U.S. under Obama refuses to own up to it. This is a betrayal of our troops. They fought to defeat terrorism in Iraq, and they succeeded. Now the enemy is getting released with no punishment. This is a betrayal of national security. I guess this is what Obama means by reset. These terrorists are now likely to go out and start trying to kill our men again. In fact, one of them is a senior member of Iran's Quds Force, an elite unit of the deadly Revolutionary Guards. So Obama is releasing dangerous Iranian prisoners, the equivalent of the Gestapo, the SS, the Hitler bodyguards. He wants to negotiate with the Hitler of Iran while he's doing nothing to stop them from getting a nuclear weapon. And now he's just agreed to cut back on our own nuclear weapons. Once again, Obama is proving himself to be either dangerously naive or you fill in the blanks. Because there are blanks there to be filled in. Schumer wants amnesty for 30 million illegal aliens. There he is. Up Chuck Schumer at it again. Now, I have some areas of agreement with him. We were on the same side in the Dubai ports deal. But when it comes to illegal aliens, he's dead wrong. He wants an immigration bill in Congress by Labor Day. And when he or any of the Democrats say immigration, translate that to amnesty for illegals. They want 30 million illegal aliens to get free health care, free welfare, free medical care, free health care, free legal care, free housing, and to take American jobs in the worst economy we've had since the Great Depression. Ted Kennedy tried to push through amnesty. He couldn't do it. G.W. Bush tried to push through amnesty, and he couldn't do it. John McCain tried to push through illegal amnesty, and he failed. But now that Upchuck Schumer has Chairman Obama sitting in the White House, he figures he can get away with it. Now that he has the clown Al Frankenstein sitting in the Senate with the rest of the clowns, he figures he can stop a filibuster. Well, there's only one thing that can stop Schumer and keep back the tide of illegal aliens, and that's you. America is waking up to the dangers that our college professor president is imposing upon us. His numbers are collapsing, and by fall, his numbers will be even lower. When the time comes, Americans will let the president and the Congress know once and for all how they feel about illegals in America, and they will throw the Democrats out. On michaelsavage.com, I've linked to an article by Professor Ellis Washington entitled J'accuse England, J'accuse America. What does that mean? Well, it's about my banning by Britain, okay, and the ban on free speech, which affects everybody. I've asked Professor Washington to come on the show to discuss this piece, comparing my being banned from Britain to the Dreyfus Affair of the late 1890s. Professor Washington, welcome back to the Savage Nation.
Michael, as always, it is a joy and a pleasure to once again have this opportunity to be interviewed by you on the Savage Nation.
Ellis, what brought you to write this particular piece?
What brought me to write this latest piece, J'accuse England, J'accuse America, is it started off actually as a very different piece. It was originally going to be titled Britain and America Collude to Exclude Michael Savage. And I was just going to do a play off of that recent article that you had broadcasted by Jim Myers of Newsmax that he had written on July the 1st. And in Jim Myers' article, he had broken the story, actually, a bombshell article, that he had information at the highest levels that Britain and America indeed are colluding presently to exclude Michael Savage, and although they tried to deny that they had done this prior to, recent revelations, it begs the question, well, if you're talking about blacklisting Michael Savage right now, why are we not to believe logically that this didn't occur a month, 2 months, maybe even 3 months ago? So Jim's article kind of lit a spark in me, Michael, to further develop some of the themes that he had presented, that you have been blacklisted and that this was a collusion between two of the world's greatest superpowers. And it begs the question, why would they expend all of this energy, all of this skullduggery against a lowly radio talk show host as yourself?
Well, history seems to be lost on many in this day and age. Tell us a little about Zola, Emile Zola, and his piece, J'accuse.
The phrase J'accuse, for those in the audience that are of a literary bent,